Hello everybody and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be working on packaging one of our previous challenges. This is going to be the Json library that we wrote, and we're actually going to be packaging it for release so that we can use it in other projects like an OpenGL program in C++. So right now we have a bunch of different files, and I'm going to want to consolidate them into a single .hpp file. If you don't know what a .hpp file is, it's not a pp, don't worry. It's essentially just header and implementation in the same file. We did do a bit of it in our header file over here with just like the constructors and stuff, but we're going to put all the source code in a single file so that it can be easily used, and that is pretty similar to what we have in our OpenGL project with GLM. In the include for OpenGL, GLM is composed of HPP files, so it's all, the source code is all here. It doesn't have a DLL associated with it, but others do. It all matters about how lightweight you want it to be, and stuff like that. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new project in Visual Studio, and I'm just going to go create new project, just an empty project. Next, and I'm going to go ahead and find the folder I want to go into, which is this one. And we're going to say Json client, okay. So on the left side I have all the code that we have right now, and in the client all I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new item with type header. I'm just going to call it json.hpp, just like that. And then we're going to do our classic, header stuff. So we have if not defined JSON HPP, define JSON HPP, and then end if. Alright, so in this file, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to consolidate all the code that we have, and I'm just going to put it all in a single location. So I'm going to start with the includes. So I'm going to take all the includes from json.h, I'm going to copy them, paste them in. I'm going to take all the includes from util.h, make sure there are no repeats, and I'm just going to paste them in, just like that. So you should have 6 includes. And then I'm going to start the namespace. So namespace JSON. Alright, so the next thing that we want to do is not in our code already, well it kind of is it's going to be our callbacks. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new section, callbacks, and then we'll also put some reference stuff in here. So all we're going to be doing in here is we're going to be creating callbacks to all of our different JSON data type classes, and you'll see why. But the big reason is because since this is technically a source file, it reads it from top to bottom. So if JSON bool does not exist, when I'm saying get if it's equal to JSON bool true, then it's going to throw a compiler error. So we're going to create a bunch of callbacks. So class JSON data, class JSON string, class JSON num, and after all these just put a semicolon, no brackets. Class JSON bool, class JSON list, and class JSON object. Alright, now we want to put the enum for the JSON types in there, so we can just copy and paste that in there, just like that. And next we'll have our utility methods. Alright, so for utility methods, we're going to have I'm going to go into util.h and I'm going to copy all of our function definitions. And then you can actually get rid of this solution explorer because we don't need it for now. And then from there, go into util.cpp and copy all of the function bodies and just replace the semicolons with it. So that's one. This process might be the hardest because you could mess up very easily, and then it would not be good. But just be careful with what you're copying and pasting and make sure it's the proper thing, and you should be all good. And then the last one, which is read file. All right, so those are the utility methods, and notice that they don't use any JSON methods so far. These are just utility methods that we use, and we're defining these at the top because all of our all of our successive methods that will actually go through the file and parse it require these utility methods to actually work. So we have to define these at the top of the file before actually writing any parsing implementation. All right, so that's good for util. Next, we want to go ahead and actually input our big class. So we're going to go ahead and do our class JSON data. And we'll have a couple of things here. So we'll have public. And for public, you can just go ahead and copy this type variable, the member, all of the constructors, all of the operators, that includes the equals and the square brackets, and then along with the stringify and get type. So just copy that and paste it in. Next, we want to go ahead and do our protected stuff, so protected. And you can just copy and paste in all of the S val, the N val, the B val, the L val, and the O val. And that just gives us access to the different values of our JSON object. And then after this, I'm just going to create another public section just for parsing methods. And this is going to have a couple of things. Let me just get the methods that I want in here. I want to put this get object. I want to put that in there. So the thing where we tried to implement the same method to parse both a list and a dictionary, put that in there. We also want to go ahead and just put the JSON data parse, or the static JSON data parse, just like that. And then that is good for now. All right, next, you can just go ahead and take all the subclasses of JSON data, so the string, number, bool, list, and object, that should go almost down to the end of JSON.h, and just copy and paste that in below the JSON data class itself. Okay, so now we have that. Next, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to define these static variables in JSON bool. So this is what I was talking about with the true and false, because we need to access these variables. But you can't simply just go ahead and say this is equal to true, because you can't really set a static variable within a class. So what we need to do is we just need to go right below it and say JSON, or standard string JSON bool, and then we're going to say true is equal to true, and standard string JSON bool false is just equal to false. So that's just our static variable definition. It's pretty much the same as what we have up here. It's just doing it in a different location. All right, next, we want to add implementations to our methods up here. All right, so the only two that we're going to be doing right now, so what we want to do is you want to copy the get type first. So the JSON data get type, just copy that into here. We can't do stringify in here because stringify requires other methods from these subclasses. So what we're going to have to do is define stringify down below. All right, so stringify we'll leave there for now. And then you can also do get object because it does not rely on any subclass methods. It is purely a C++ and not a JSON method. So copy the get object implementation, go down to the parsing methods where we have it. Ooh, don't move anything. And then delete the semicolon and add the implementation. All right. So now what we have is parse. We have parse and stringify. That's left to define. So let's go to the bottom of this file here, and we're going to go ahead and say parse slash stringify. And all we're going to do is you're going to take the definition, so the body and the header. So because essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be defining these methods outside of a class like a normal source file, but because it relies on other methods, we need to put it at the bottom. So take the whole method with the JSON data identifier there that tells the compiler that this method is the definition for the JSON data method, and just paste it in there, just like that. Get object is giving me something wrong. Oh, I think we made it a static method. Let me just clarify. Let's make get object a static method. And the reason why we have to make it a static method is because before it was just in the namespace, so it wasn't relative to a member. So then in the parse, just replace all your get objects with JSON data : get object, and just put that for the two implementations, or the two calls of it that we have. Okay. Next, we want to do the stringify method. So let me go ahead and find the implementation, and that should be in JSON data.cpp. And you can just copy it once again with the header because we're defining it outside of the class, and just paste it in there, and it should give no errors. All right, so that's all good. And then the last thing that we have to do is we still have two more methods that are in read and write, because we didn't give these definition yet. We're not going to use a JSON util class. All we're going to do is we're just going to define these at the bottom. So read JSON object from file, and I'm just going to copy that method, paste it in there, and get rid of the JSON util identifier. And then for the write, I'm going to do the exact same thing. So write JSON object to file, just like that, and get rid of the JSON util identifier. And next, or I'm just going to add an extra comment here, stringify JSON objects and parse. Ooh, not that. Oh, frick, what did I do? All right, so then parse JSON objects. All right, so we have no errors. All of the code is included here. So we have our callbacks. We have our utility methods here. We have our main class. We have our subclasses. And then finally we have our extra methods that rely on methods up above. All right. Now we can make this full screen, and we can go and view the Solution Explorer and then create a new file, and we'll call it add, and then we'll just say main.cpp. Don't add a class, just a source file. We're going to go ahead and say include iostream and include json.hpp, and then we're going to say int main. We also want to go ahead and create our source file, or our data file. So I'm going to go ahead and say file, new file. I'm just going to say text file for now, and then go back into the previous project, copy the data from here. So the data.json, paste it into here, and then save this as data.json and all files, and go into our current directory. Put it in the same directory as main.cpp and save it in. All right, so now the syntax highlighting, and now we can go ahead and in main, we can go ahead and say, well, let's do our a hello world first. So standard cout hello JSON, and then we're going to say JSON data object is equal to, we're going to say JSON read from data.json, just like that. And you need to make sure that it is included in the project. So just make sure that it's included with the main.cpp, because otherwise it won't copy it to the executable directory. And after that, we just want to print it. So standard cout object.stringify standard endl, and then return 0. All right, so let's make sure all this works. No errors, good. All right, so that's like that. And let's make sure that we can also modify this. So let's go and say object at names is equal to an initializer list, and we'll say Michael, Stalin, Lenin, and you get the gist. They're all pretty similar. Let's run this, and then we should see that. So we have the names list down here. All right, perfect. Yeah. So now that we have packaged this into a single file that is 427 lines long, this is pretty compact, I would say. So if you just drag this file into any project or an include directory, you can use this JSON library in it, and it will function normally. So yeah, that's all I wanted to do in this video, pretty quick. So we will actually be using this HPP file in a future OpenGL project where we'll be creating a game that will have different properties. And yeah, we'll be exploring some more game creation with JSON.